Hello and welcome to the Tiny Human Knits podcast, my podcast about knitting, sewing, crochet, cross stitch, and all manner of crafty goodness. My name is Laura and you can find me online as Tiny Human Knits on Instagram and YouTube. Obviously, I have an Etsy shop of the same name and I'm also on Ravelry. And there's also a Ravelry group for the podcast. It's Tiny Human Knits Podcast in the groups tab. And also, I don't think I've ever mentioned before, but if you want links for any of the sites that I'm available on, I have them all in the down bar. So it's an easy, quick, just click on it and then it'll bring you straight to the page. That's where I have my show notes. So links to any sort of patterns that I talk about or yarns that I talk about. Most of the time, sometimes I get really lazy about acquisitions and I just never put them in there. But it's something that you can easily Google. But yeah, you should be able to find all the information down below. Yeah, I'm coming to you from High Level, Alberta, Canada, where I live with my husband and our two pets, our cat named Shrimp and our bunny named Oscar. Shrimp is feeling really needy today and is, every time she sees me, she's just got to follow me around the house. Although our rabbit does the same thing, but you can't cuddle him for the most part. He's been getting really friendly and jumping on the couch and stuff with us, but yeah. So it's been about a little over a week and a half. Well, not even, actually. It's about a week and a half. I don't know if anyone else, I never announced it on the podcast, but I am doing vlogmas this year, which is actually really exciting because it's super fun. It's making me record more of my life, which is a huge problem for my husband and I. I think we've known each other for 14 years and we have been together as a couple for almost 5, and we have probably 3 pictures of us together, and maybe one of those is taken by myself. We're so bad at taking photos. We have a couple wedding photos, but we didn't have a professional photographer, so it was just like wedding photos that were taken by people at our wedding. It was a very small wedding. Although I really like those photos because I have a tendency, I have the type of face that if I know I'm getting photographed, it looks terrible. I don't know what to do with my face and I just look either really, really pissed off or just like I couldn't give fewer cares about what's going on. So anyway, that's a tangent. But yeah, so it's making it so there's more of our interactions, I suppose. Although, but yeah. Where was I going with that? Yes, I'm doing vlogmas. I just uploaded actually the 6th and 7th today, right before I started recording this podcast, so those should be up. So if anyone's interested in seeing a little bit of my daily life, I'm not very interesting. It's mostly videos of my cat, but if you like cats, she's super cute. So they're up on there. Anyway, I will get into the admin stuff. In the podcast group, I am hosting the Sweater Weather Cow, which is ending in a couple weeks at the end of the year. There are quite a few submissions in that, and I'm really excited. It makes me want to make garments even more, even though I do consistently make garments. But it's really fun to see what other people are doing because it kind of inspires you for color decisions in garments and like what kind of garment you want to make. So that's ending soon. So if you have knit a garment between August 1st, and as long as your project wasn't more than 50% done by August 1st, you can enter it into the thread and be given a chance to win a project bag. And I'll show you again. This pack of Knit Kit City Tweed DK, which I ordered quite a while ago for this giveaway, that is the main prize. So it'll be that, a couple goodies, and a project bag. So enter it into the thread and have a chance to win that. I also have a chatter thread for the stash along. I'm just going to call it a stash along because I don't want to limit it to just knitting. It can be crochet, it can be weaving, any sort of fiber craft as long as it's yarn. I'm not really entering fabric into this. At least not this time around. If I do it again in future, I'll probably do that because I do have a ridiculous amount of fabric that I don't know quite how that happened because I never really considered myself much of a sewist. But anyway, sorry, today's going to be filled with tangents. I don't get to talk to very many people, so this is kind of my like going for coffee kind of speech thing. But yeah, there's a chatter thread for that, and the stash along will start on January 4th, so that if I get any yarn for my birthday, it can be entered into this thing. So it's just as long as your yarn came into your stash before January 4th, before January 4th, it is qualified. Anything you make out of whatever you got before that date. Another piece of admin is that I did have the Mary Maxim kit giveaway. That one was this one right here that was gifted to me by a viewer of the podcast. And this is a super cute kit. Anyway, so I had a thread open for that, and I locked it right before I started podcasting and drew a name. Oh, there it is. So I had 31 entries, so 30 besides my own. So I used random.org to pick between a number between 2 and 31. And the post I got was post number 7, which was WKH25. So you win the Mary Maxim kit. And I think her answer was, my prompt was, what would be your preferred Christmas gift? And I think she had a PayPal gift card would be hers. But if this is a good sort of consolation prize, so get in touch with me, send me your mailing address, and I will get that to the post for you as soon as possible. Okay, last bit of admin, actually, I almost forgot. So I have reached over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is super exciting, and I don't quite know why people watch me because I'm full of bleh. But I've decided to do a 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I will be hosting this in my Ravelry page, so I will link it down below to be able to enter. I'm going to open a thread there for entries, and the prize will be, actually, I made this bag. Technically I kind of made it for myself, but I realized I don't need another one. So I'm going to take this bag and I'm going to fill it with minis. So some from my stash and some of my own hand dyed, and just I'm going to fill it with minis and send it to you as that. So if you are interested in getting a good amount of minis and a pretty bag, I'll show you the inside too. This is the pink lining. I do enjoy this bag a lot. Sorry for the noise. My cat has dropped something into the bathtub in the bathroom behind me and is playing with it. So if you hear rambunctious noise, that's her. But yeah, if you would like to enter that, then click the link below or just go to my Ravelry page for the podcast and you can enter for that. So I'll put up a thread before I post this and then you'll be able to enter. Okay, I think that might be all the admin stuff. I don't think I had anything else to talk about. Yes. Alright, so I'll start with what I'm wearing. I am wearing my Tegna pullover t-shirt thing. I called it a sweater to my husband and he just looked at me and said, that's not a sweater. I'm like, fine. So it's the Tegna. I don't know if you can see, but it's got the lacy border. This is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter, who is Boyland Knitworks on Ravelry, who is still having her, I think it's 30% off pattern sale. You can go to her page, and I think if you use the code WARMUP, all in capital letters, you can get 30% off your purchases of her patterns. She has great patterns. She's the one with the Sunset Highway pullover, the Tegna, and again, I cannot remember. I don't know. But anyway, her patterns are beautiful and very well written. This pattern was very easy to follow. But that is what I'm wearing. It's knit up in my own hand-dyed yarn. This is the Victoria colorway, which is a perfect dusty rose. And I already have hair all over it. And I did it in my sparkle, my holiday sparkle base, so it's nice and shiny. But besides that, I have 3 finished objects to show you today. First off, I will show you a pair of socks I knit for my husband. So these are just plain vanilla socks. Honestly, mostly for him I knit vanilla socks because I cannot be bothered to knit anything more complicated because his feet are so big. Which is funny because his feet aren't even that big, but compared to mine, I have size 6.5 in Canada. I don't know what that is. I think it might be a 5 in the UK or something like that. They're not very large. So knitting socks for myself, especially since I like shorty socks, is really easy. And he likes a longer sock, and he's got a size 10 men's, which is actually quite small. I'm just whiny. But I knit this out of my own hand-dyed yarn. This is the page 394 colorway. There's 2, and I just did my usual toe up, 14 stitches on each needle with Judy's Magic Cast On, increase to 64. And I use, I had someone ask in the Ask Me Anything or something like that about how I knit my socks. I use the basic pattern on Ravelry that's called Just Another Vanilla Sock. I will link it down below. And I have adjusted a little bit what I do with that basic pattern, but that's the one I started out with, and it works really well. So you do Judy's Magic Cast On, and you cast on the amount of stitches you need for the toe, and then you increase. The way I increase, I actually got the technique from Candace of the Pin Feathers and Pearls, where you have 14 stitches to begin with on each needle, and I knit into the front and back of the first stitch and the second to last stitch on both needles, because the purl bump will come after the stitch that you're knitting into the front and back of. So if you do it on the first stitch, it's a knit stitch, then a purl. And then if you do it on the second last stitch, you knit, and then there's a purl bump, and then you knit the last stitch. So there's a purl bump. The second to last stitch on both sides is a purl bump. So it makes it look really neat, really tidy. I'll take this off and show you. And that's where I got that technique from. And I do it the same when I'm increasing for the heel. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's really neat. And then you do the increase row and then a knit row, increase row, knit row. You might want to adjust that. If you have particularly long toes, you might want to put more than one knit row in between the increase rows. I don't. I have really rounded sort of feet, so it works really well for me and my husband. It fits him really well. But then you just you knit in stockinette or a pattern if you prefer, until the pattern calls for you you knit until 2.5 inches before the length of your foot. So you measure your foot first and you subtract 2.5 inches. I do 3 because I like that a little bit of extra stretch, because socks are always going to stretch out. So I prefer having a little bit more negative ease in the length. So for me personally, I knit until they're 6 inches long before I start the gusset increases. And then depending on the yarn, I will change the amount of gusset increases that I do. If it's a really thick yarn, depending on how many stitches I have on the needle. I hope this is making sense, everybody. So you do the gusset increases, and then you do the heel turn, which their instructions are there, and it's, I think it's an 8-stitch difference for each one. So if you're doing an in-between size, you just have to do 4, you can do the calculations. And then you do the heel turn, and then you do just knitting up. And what I've started to do, this is very recent, is that I used to, after I did the heel turn, I would pick up a stitch in between the needles on either side of the heel and then decrease it after. And I find that's neat, but not as neat as I would like. So what I have started to do is that on the last row of increases for the gusset, I will do a make one left and make one right on either side of the heel. And then I do a regular knit row, and then including those. And then I do the heel turn, and then I will decrease them after. And I find that looks super neat and doesn't leave a hole at all. So that's what that looks like there. So it's super tidy. But that was a really long discussion for a vanilla sock. But I hope that helps. If you have any further questions, I might just write up my vanilla sock recipe or how I do it on Ravelry. But I hope that helps. And as for the bind off, there's a lot. I do a different bind off depending on what type of sock I'm doing, so that's entirely up to you. It's more of a preference than anything. So my second finished object is another pair of socks. This one's not quite as boring. This is in Knit Stroll Tweed in the pomegranate heather, I think. And this I did in my garter rib pattern that I've done on socks before. It's a knit 2, purl 1, knit 2, purl 1 on the one row, and then you knit all the stitches on the next, so you get a nice garter bump ridge between your rib. This is actually a super tiny sock. These are for a very, very small-footed person. They look ridiculously small. But she has size 5.5 feet, so they're really, really tiny. These are for my sister-in-law, Amanda. She never watches the podcast, I'm sure. I'm not even sure if she really goes on the computer much. But I made them for her. I got her for Christmas box and for my husband's side of the family, and she's a knitter, but she's never had a chance to learn how to make her own socks. She doesn't get a lot of time. I've said before, she's got 4 little boys, so she doesn't really have any time to do it. So I'm giving her, for Christmas, I'm giving her one of my project bags. I put a bunch of yarn in it, but I also made her a pair of socks, so she can know how wonderful it is to have hand knit socks. And then if she likes this pattern, if it fits her really well, I'll write it up for her, and then I can teach her how to make her own socks. So, because even if that is the only thing you make, it's worth it, because socks are fabulous, in my own personal opinion. My last finished object is the Yule Book mittens by Ellie of Skandier Knits, and I know everyone is knitting her mittens right now, and that's because they are fabulous. And here they are. So I made these for my sister-in-law, another one, Dana. She ordered these for her grandmother, her husband's grandmother. Something nice to give her for Christmas. And so I wasn't really concerned about them being like super warm or something you'd be using for like shoveling the sidewalk or anything like that, because this is a woman who's living on her own and really old. She's not going to be doing that. She's got a bunch of kids who can do it for her. So I made it out of Knit Stroll as well, the Stroll Tweed. I can't remember the colors. They're all on my project page for it if you are interested. But yeah, this is the sort of Christmassy, beautiful pattern. And it's been a long time since I've made Colorwork mittens, and it was really fun. I always forget just how quick they are. But yeah, I think, honestly, it's funny, because if you watch Ellie of Skandier, she talks about how mitten designs with the mitten, the thumb gusset on the, actually at the side, how they're a bit weird because your hand doesn't naturally move like that. Your thumb is a little bit in the front. I actually think after making more and more mittens that my hands are a bit wonky, where my thumb does kind of come out the side. Because mittens like this, they pull. For me. They don't for anyone else. I had someone else try these on and they're fine, but they always pull my mitten a little bit crooked, which is the exact opposite of what happens for Ellie. But I have a pair of mittens that I want to make for myself. They're not Colorwork, but I realized after being outside for about an hour and a half yesterday that I do need a pair of mittens because I don't have any. But yeah, these are done. I just did a solid thumb because I personally don't like stranded colorwork in my thumbs. It's just why. And I think it still looks cute. But yeah, it was really fun. Here's a close-up of the colorwork. And this was actually a really good thing to do because I do want to make a colorwork sweater. The Bistort sweater by Knit, and it has a colorwork yoke with 3 color strands in it sometimes, so it was a good sort of practice to relearn or reteach my fingers what it feels like to do that kind of work. Oh yeah, today, I don't know, man, I don't know. But those are all of my finished objects for this podcast. I will have a lot next podcast as well because I have 3 works in progress at the moment. My first one is being held in a bag I've pilched from my shop. I did mention, oh, my hair everywhere. I steal a lot of bags from my shop. I can't help it. I am making Christmas socks for my cousin Jennifer. And I'm just very basic stockinette vanilla sock. So I'm using the W.I.P.S stroll in their Glimmer, the Stellina base. And it's just super boring, plain vanilla sock. I do a lot of vanilla socks. I apologize. But I have this red color, which is pomegranate. Yes. Pomegranate, and then it's just white for the rest of the body. And then as soon as I get to the cuff, I'm going to change to pomegranate again. And then for the second sock, it's going to have a white toe and cuff, and then the rest of the body will be the pomegranate colorway. So there'll be one of each. And I told her I was going to make her these quite a while ago. Here's also a good way you can see, because I did the increases on either side of the heel and then decreased. There is no hole at all, which I really like. And I actually knit most of this while watching Moana on Netflix, and ugh, I love that movie so much. But yeah, I've got my 2 balls of yarn, and I actually have enough yarn. We both like the same size or same kind of foot, so it will only probably take about 50 grams, so I can probably make a pair for myself out of this same batch. But we'll see how much time I end up actually having. I might have enough time to make quite a few pairs of socks before Christmas, because it's one of my... This year it seems to be one of my favorite gifts to give, because they don't take very long, and people usually appreciate them. And you can find out the joys of handmade socks. My second work in progress is my Chuck sweater by Andy Satterland. And this is my ugly Christmas sweater. And honestly, I haven't done much work on it. I got most of the sleeve done, but then I sort of stopped. So, threads everywhere. This is so unnecessary. So it's my ugly Christmas sweater, Chuck sweater. I'm just doing short sleeves. I realized as I was knitting the sleeve that I don't have a third ball of this, or a fourth, sorry, I'm on the third one, of this green, the emerald. So I'm just going to be doing a short sleeve, because I don't mind that, and it's really thick wool. I don't want to be overheating if I ever have to wear it to like a party or something like that. So I'm just going to do that and then have the cuffs here. So it honestly, I don't know what's taking me so long. I got caught up with my mom's Christmas present. But yeah, it's a really great pattern. It is a little bit tough to follow in the beginning, just the way that it's written, because it's a lot of written word instruction, which I always find slightly confusing. I prefer a chart, and just, it seems like there's extra words in there that don't need to be there, but that's just me. Don't let that hinder you. But yeah, I should have it done by next podcast, hopefully, because I do want to wear it to my husband's family gathering, because his mom is super obsessed with Christmas, same as I am, and I think she'd really enjoy seeing it. And that's just being knit out of Patons classic wool. Just some stash that I had, because I have a lot of it. So much of it. And I do enjoy knitting with Patons, because I have a couple sweaters out of their yarn, and I find they're not so woolly that they are uncomfortable to wear. But my third work in progress, which is the one I've been working on pretty exclusively for the past week. I cast it on, what day was it? Monday? I can't remember. Sunday or Monday, something like that. This week, and I was going to be knitting my mom the Rhapsody in Cables by Joji Locatelli, but I realized that was going to end up taking me too long and it was going to stress me out. And also she's turning 50 next year, next September, so I decided I was going to keep the slightly more complicated, pretty version of what I was going to make her for that, because it's a little bit more of a special occasion. So instead, I decided to cast on a pavement sweater by Vera Valimaki. It's the one that same pattern I knit for myself in the Shagnum colorway that I was wearing last podcast. And I'm knitting it out of Knit Stroll tweed, which is sort of the theme. And this is their down heather colorway. So I've got that much. I am just on the short row shaping on the bottom before I go to the garter ridge cuff hem. There we go. So I've done one side of the short row shaping and I'm now just on the other side, and I should finish that really quickly. I've only got a couple more rows of that to do. So I just need to do that, and then the sleeves will go by really fast. But yeah, I really like it. This yarn is really nice. I have 3 more sweater quantities of this, of Knit Stroll that I ordered from their big sale in the mail. I should be actually getting it today or early next week. But I thought it would be a good thing for her to wear because, you know, you don't want to make just really heavy sweaters, because this sweater is such a good design for spring, or if it's a cool day in a summer day, which we don't get very warm summer, so it should be good. But yeah, also I really love tweed. It's so soft. This is so soft. But I should be done this, hopefully. I want to get it in the mail by Monday because I want her to have it by Christmas. So hopefully I can finish it by tomorrow at least. But yeah, and it's got slight jangles because my gorgeous friend Rosie gave me a set of her stitch markers, which this is one. Super cute. And there's a bell on here as well, which is so funny because it gives such a soft sound when you're knitting. Makes my cat go crazy. And yeah, I'm holding that in my version of the flowery bag that I made myself. And I love this bag, and it actually holds a whole fingering weight sweater. And my mom is not a small lady. She's thin-ish. She's sort of Amazonian that's how I always describe her. She's 5'10". I'm 5'2". I didn't get any of her height. I got her figure, but I got my dad's side of the family height. So, also attached to this is my little Haya scissors that Rosie also sent me, which are so handy. I love having them just attached to my my project bag. But yeah, that's what I'm doing with that. So those are what I'm working on, and so next podcast I'm probably going to have a whole different group of projects I'm working on because I hope to finish all of these by next time. And I think I can. I think I'll be able to manage that. But yeah, now I do have acquisitions this time around, mostly because my friend Rosie of PixelAtlantis podcast and dye shop exchanged Christmas parcels. And I'm looking at the stack right now. She went so overboard. I kept getting worried that I didn't send her enough. And like I went through the inventory. I'm like, I think it was okay. She really liked it, but she sent me so much. First off, I did make a Knit Picks order before because I needed some tools, some dyes and stuff like that. So in that, I actually forgot I ordered this, but I ordered some Knit Picks Felici in the mint chip colorway. So those are going to be socks for me and my cousin Jennifer, I think, because if I make socks for my husband, it'll use practically all of this. So one ball for her and one ball for me. And I was thinking about it earlier. It's really funny that I knit so much for my cousin Jennifer. Me and her get along really well, and she's really knit worthy. But I always remember the fact that she's pretty much my only cousin I ever see. Which is funny because I have about 120, 130 first cousins. Not just cousins in general, I mean first cousins. My dad has 16 brothers and sisters and my mom has 10. And almost all of them have children, so I have a lot of relatives. But me and Jennifer are the only ones who really hang out. So, she's my most knit-worthy person, pretty much. Anyway, that was a tangent. So, Rosie sent me a package. She sent me the scissors, the stitch markers, a bottle of needles for darning, and she also sent me a bunch of candy. It's all gone. It's been destroyed. It's gone. Skittles, Terry's Chocolate Orange. It's done. But she sent me so much yarn. So much yarn. So first off, she sent me a bunch of West Yorkshire Spinners because I mentioned that I wanted to try it more. And it's glorious. So she sent me 4 skeins. 4 skeins. She sent me the new Christmas color, the Candy Cane. I think this is the one from this year. And then Hollyberry, which is the one from last year. I'm pretty sure. That's kind of what I've been hearing on other people's podcasts. So that's, got those 2. Be good if I had the labels up right. And this is ridiculous. This is so much yarn. And it's, it's really great. I'm gonna be very busy next year. So she sent me those 4. She also sent me a skein of her hand dyed in the vintage Christmas lights, which is this one right here. And I think this one might be my Christmas Eve cast on. I think. I haven't decided yet, but I'm pretty sure. And she also sent me this one here, which is Ovis Yarns, and this is 100% British BFL. And it is so soft and woolly and beautiful, and it's got this gorgeous halo on it. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna make yet. I'll have to decide that. And then she sent me 3 skeins of Fabel, of Drops Fabel, in the cutest colors. These are all destined to be socks for myself, I think. Ugh, I think they're gorgeous. I have a friend who this one would be very good for her, I think. I just got tiny feet. I love it. It's a perfect combination. But these are going to be mine. There's also a skein of Katia Olay socks, I think. I think these are, no, I don't know. I'm not sure. I have seen this yarn before, but I've never bought it before. But it feels really nice. And this color is glorious. She also sent me 4 balls of like half skeins. And this is because her and I have about the same size feet, and we both don't like particularly long socks. So we always end up having like half a ball left of sock yarn, and we don't know what to do with it. So I sent her my half balls of yarn, and then she sent me hers. So I really like this one here too. I like them all, but this one's really cute, and this one I think is her hand dyed. So I'm really excited to make some socks out of that. Maybe I'll make some scrappy socks. I'm not sure yet. There's so much. So she sent me all of that. It's ridiculous. I got the package and it was way bigger than I was expecting it to be. But my husband and I aren't really doing gift exchange this year. I'm making him a couple pairs of socks, but we can't really afford to get like proper Christmas presents. So, and I told him that I do have enough yarn, but I still love getting it. But yeah, so he's not worrying about it this year. So this was kind of a nice, it's like getting Christmas without having to go out and him picking stuff and all that. But those are my acquisitions, and I do have more coming because apparently I don't have enough yarn in my life. But yeah. So that's pretty much it. I don't have much for blather. Mostly because I've been doing Vlogmas and I keep forgetting what I've said and what I haven't, so I don't know what to say besides that. Plus my life isn't very exciting. I've just been working out, knitting, and eating chocolate for the last week and a half. I'm really enjoying doing Vlogmas and watching Vlogmas. I love seeing people's day-to-day life, and it's really cute. And I have so many that I like, but if you are watching for the first time, the one I would recommend the most, I think, would be Little Bobbins. Her Vlogmases, as well as her podcasts, are so relaxing. She's so calming. Watching her makes me want to just sit quietly and drink tea and just be really chilled out. But it's lovely to see that. And there's so many that I love watching, but I would suggest that for sure. So yeah, I will see you next time with another batch of projects. I hope to cast on a sweater for myself next time because I need one. I need one. I'm gonna do a sew faded, I think. But yeah, I will see you next time. Thank you so much for checking me out, and if you're a returning viewer, so much for watching and dealing with my ridiculousness, and I hope you are all having a wonderful time decorating for the holidays. Even if you don't celebrate, I hope you enjoy the atmosphere. So yeah, I will see you next time, and have a lovely day. Bye!